Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I want to talk about the new product that I've just engineered to a high level of efficiency for clearing out all types of devices, radionic machines, clearing your jewelry, watches, rings, other things. These are all very problematic items in your life because they hold a lot of negativity. We also have the absurd issue to deal with of these con artists who basically, I have tracked them all to being involved in criminal activity, which is quite interesting. These people who are actually sending you, selling on different places what would be considered ghost items, haunted items, etc. Well, we've tested a lot of these and they have a very evil energy in them. At least some of them. Most of them just don't have anything. They're kind of dead. This is a fallacy that you can put particular spirits in something and send them to someone else to use. Now, doing this is a high art, and it's very unlikely that any of these people doing this have this ability. I doubt if they're sincere or not. From what I have found out is that these people, this is a whole criminal community. It's a huge business. And a lot of people don't understand that the alternative business of products, etc., is a huge one. It's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars a year in alternative products in general. And that means we're putting them all together. But it's shocking how many of these things actually sell. Things like Q-ray bracelets, and if we want to get into the supplement field, there's which is $1 billion market in itself. So these are huge industries, and they have to be looked at carefully. There's an awful lot of fraud in the supplement industry that what they state is in these products really isn't. And could this actually be hurtful? Well, it's certainly hurtful to your pocketbook, where these supplements are very expensive and you're not getting the quality. But that's a whole nother item we'll get into. There are plain and simple items that have negative energy in it or produce negative energy. Now, some of this is done deliberately. Other things are done indeliberate or indirect by the fact that they are producing things they think have energy in it, and they don't. And who are these people making things? If you're going to take on somebody's energy, you're going to buy a product from somebody, who are they? What are they connected to? Now, the bottom line is that particularly in alternative stuff, you have, no matter what that is, whether it's metaphysically, occult, or radionic type based, you have people that are involved in this industry that are very much people that are not on the same wavelength as the general public. They're basically people who are social deviants, people who break away from society. And of course, that labels all of us probably listening to this actual video here to a degree. But what are their intentions? The problem is regular society is pretty evil and messed up. I mean, all your religions are basically based in hurting people, negativity, I'm better than you, you're going to go to hell. So we have all these problems. You really want to buy something from there. They like to gloss that over with the love gods and the healing energies, but their their typical attitudes are pretty much very negative. So the whole world is negative. It's difficult to actually find products that are in the general public, and particularly alternative, that have any value. What are they doing? Where do they get their information from? What is their research? And that's another thing. Are the products valid in general? And this tends to be a super big problem because nobody is educated in any field properly. They read one book or go by some 30-year-old, 40-year-old video or book, and they think they know something. And then they think, well, I can make products like this. I can do that. Well, I do encourage that of people. Maybe somebody can figure it out. But you have to understand that there's so much misinformation out there that finding quality products in general by people who know what they're doing is extremely difficult. So over the years, which I've been doing this, well, technically I've been doing this about 55 years since I don't know if you call it a child, since basically I've been 10, 11 years old, I've been involved in alternative practices. This is when yoga and all the Middle Eastern, I say Indian type practices were super big and everywhere. The end of the 60s, the early 70s. So, and these are on TV and everything else. I mean, yoga courses and everything else. People think this is new. So I investigated that as a child, and that was my first kind of introduction into it. There were radio shows similar to Art Bell on in where I grew up, and I listened to a very varied group of people, which was very interesting. This is when one of the first crystal books came out from, I believe it was Dale Walker, which I purchased as a young person. So the whole idea is that this was the first start of it. So I've been looking at things for many years, and I've been listening to them. I even have the old tapes of those shows that I go back and listen to occasionally as well. It's very interesting of what people are saying, what they said back then. I do enjoy going back to old periodicals and looking at, well, what did they say back then? And most of this kind of information on psychic abilities, reincarnation, and everything else is still valid today. I mean, it really hasn't changed. What has changed is the way they do their practices to a certain amount. So there are different techniques that have been lost in the lost in time, so to speak, here, of the last 30 to 40 years. So it's always great to revisit this and find techniques that are lost by reading old publications and so forth. And looking at, of course, what was offered back then. What were the tools they offering? What were the popular books? So I do this all the time to kind of do some going back in time, so to speak, to look at what was happening then. This is all part of the bigger research reality that professional organizations do and professional researchers do. Who are they? Well, I don't know who they are, but certainly I seem to be the only one doing this. So what happens there? So we've got all these people who are basically profiteers going out there trying to make money. How many of them are serious? I don't know. I doubt that many of them are overly serious. I think they see a quick buck, buys, and want to convince themselves that that little paragraph and a half, that page of telling somebody how to do something, they're able to do it. Well, to do metaphysical related things, working with radionic machines, psychic abilities, etc., is not something that is naturally occurring in you, that just pops out to the highest degree when you want to use it. Now, this is one of the fallacies that we run into all the time. This is natural. I hear this all the time. Everybody can do it. Well, yeah, everybody can play golf. Everybody can play baseball. Everybody can add up a column of numbers. But the problem here is that, yeah, everybody can play golf very badly. There's few people that play golf very good. And if you want to take the time and energy and spend months and years practicing golf, well, you can probably be pretty good at it. Did you get the preference to that, though? Or the in terms of the the pre-information there, is the fact that if you want to spend years and years, and I can add to that, invest a lot of money and time in it, get the best golf clubs, take lessons, have a golf membership so you can play golf all the time. These are all the things that you have to do if you want to be good at something. Now, and of course, these are available to the public. There's lots of support. There's magazines. There's golf courses everywhere. So it's pretty easy to do. And it's easy to get tools. You can get them everywhere. Golf balls, golf clubs, so it's not difficult. And you can get lessons everywhere from what are probably fairly competent golfers. Now, this is very different when you get into metaphysics, because metaphysics and the nature of the people who are basically people that are breaking away from the average world. So to a large extent, the society would see these people and considers what they're learning to be pretty much deviant activity. So, which is a strong word, but so true. So people have great hate and fear of metaphysics, the so-called occult, which just means hidden. And of course, this then attracts a strange group of people that are involved in this. And like everything in life, are there good doctors? Are there good lawyers? Politicians? Well, not really. There are a few good everything. The majority are corrupt, rotten people, regardless of their belief system. Certainly, the belief systems that everybody thinks is okay and follows, literally by the billions, has created a horrible society of huge corruption. So, to blame the rest of the world for that, or to blame some outside sources or some evil energy to be causing this, is the absurdity of it. What's causing it is the corrupt, evil people who are following what is told them by the billions. Religion is still what everybody believes in, and what has it ever done for the world? Plain and simple. So, looking at all this, we have to understand where this comes from. So, to think that someone has the skill to do what they claim to be doing, and you can see how common things are. Nobody has any new ideas except Radionic Tech here and myself, who are constantly seeking out better ways of doing it. Where is it? I mean, the actual radionic machines that we see out on the market today entirely, there's virtually nobody doing anything different, are looking like radionic machines that were built 100 years ago. They're basically based on Ruth Drown and De La Warr from I guess it started in the 50s when they started making these similar type machines. So there's very little that has been changed, and nobody has figured out radionics except Radionic Tech. I know exactly how it all works, and we're developing potent tools to harness these energies. But they're just not out there. What do these people know? What are they into? And what's even more strange and even frightening is that the entire radionic market has been taken over by Satanists who have no problem stating that. The EA Kinetics, who have their radionic machines sitting behind them in any interview, the people who are working with these radionic tools and selling them are all directly connected as Satanists. And they have Satanists sitting next to them that they are interviewed with. And of course, they have absolutely no background whatsoever. I mean, these people aren't studying radionics. They don't have all the machines. They're not reading all the literature. They think they know something, and they can show by what they build with little actually craft boxes that they buy and put radionic instruments in for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, some over $1,000, and with their pretty poor components they use, the same kind of silly wiring, all the stuff that they do all the time thinking they know something, because basically they've copied somebody else. And then they've copied somebody else in a lot of bad ways, because they don't even understand the process of it. So these people are building technologies that are 60, 70 years old with absolutely no improvements, using garbage plastic, thin little copper plates, crappy wire, and the common potentiometers put in a Michael's craft box that you buy for $2. I mean, this is pretty pathetic. So we have this on, and there are other different variances out there, and there's a few very expensive machines that basically are not worth it at all. They either work poorly, the designs are poor. And certainly there's no advances here, even though some claim that they look more kind of computer, when they're really not computerized whatsoever. And of course we have those people who are continuing to build old Hieronymus type machines. And Hieronymus gets a lot of credit because of who he was. He lived long and so forth. But he was hampered apparently by, again, governmental restrictions. If you think things were bad now, the bottom line is that it seems to me they were worse back then, because anybody can use a Hieronymus machine now. Of course, you can't go around making claims and so forth, but people are doing that out there. So, and they are available on the market. So all of these things have to be fully understood of the kind of nonsense that is going on out there. So there's, people are not coming up with anything new from it because they don't understand the technology. They don't know how it works. They don't know what kind of energies they're dealing with. So they are stuck really in following old and also believing in a lot of the old stuff that is invalid as of this day. So we do need to do that. They're not reading all the books, and there's a surprisingly large library of radionic books if you want to go back many, many years. There's probably 50 or 60 of them that are out there, and even some that have been put out recently, thanks to Amazon-type publishing with print on demand. There's at least 10 or 15 books that have come out in the last 5 or 10 years on radionics and different aspects of it. And of course, they don't understand what they're doing. So they have a very vague understanding of what's happening to make money. So what happens is you get this primitive technology, which in some cases is even toxic and bad, but there are people that are deliberately in the radionic industry and in the magical industry now. Anything that has to do with occultism, you really can't trust. The preference for black magic in this day and age is really shocking, and that's who are producing products out there. They're telling you to seek empowerment in the dark. This is where the energy comes from. Well, for a Satanist, it does. So darkness doesn't produce any energy as a general understanding in metaphysics. Light has energy, and that's what carries energy and creates everything. It's always been the light. Now, we have, of course, regular science who wants to talk about dark matter. And, of course, this is the emptiness of space. And because it's in space, it's kind of dark. But generally, dark matter is not dark per se. And this is, of course, where zero-point energy supposedly comes from. Well, the whole idea is, again, we don't have any proof of any of that or any value of it. Science is it's empty. It's empty. Plug a toaster in it. We have these terrible, terrible common scientists telling us things, and then we have the goofballs on the other side. But, I think life is kind of like this, and I think that is up to the individual to seek out and find those of great wisdom and knowledge and to support them over the other crooks. So, criminals, Satanists. It's really sad what is happening out there, and this is not something of my invention. As I proved many times through my different lectures, these people are openly doing it. Carl Hanswells, didn't wave the satanic flag from the beginning, and he has always been, or was, I should say, because he died young using his own technology, and so did most of his family, of the fact that he was a hardcore Satanist running a very deviant satanic cult. Who, by the way, trained people like the famous Satanist of today, E.A. Konedding, who actually states in a video that is available that you can watch that his mentor, the person who taught him everything he knows, was Carl Hanswells. So, whose main book that he took and translated, who was actually published by myself at the time, because he was an original partner with me, who I threw out of my organization, the Book of Faust. It's amazing that's the only grimoire that he could access from his deviant Austrian background, was a book on making a deal with the devil. I had no idea at that time, 30 years ago, how that would be so poignant of today. And as I said, he was trying to turn the organization that we were working in into a satanic organization indirectly, which was discovered trying to cause all sorts of problems and so forth. And I threw him out of my organization. He refused to do everything, by the way. Was as poor as a church mouse and totally incompetent until he started pushing his satanic agenda, and then, of course, got the support of the criminal community that is all behind all this stuff, and is still today. But so this is what you're looking at here. This is what you're looking at as a problem here of what's out there. And that's just the radionic industry. So when you get things that, will send you incubuses and succubuses, this is not fun party Saturday night sex, people. These are things that drain your essence. I'm not sure the entire process is sexual anyway, but it means they're going into your root chakra and just sucking you dry. So the whole idea is that the reality to that is not good. It's not something you want in your life. I understand the problem with sexuality, which has always been a problem, and particularly today, where there basically are not any, or I should say a very low percentage of people who have sexual satisfaction. So this is another issue I've talked about before. But of course, that's always been an issue and it always will be, because you're psychotically driven to be involved in sexual practices that have no value whatsoever. But let's stay away from that now. But it's still a negative energy. Ghost haunted things. And if you buy this haunted ring for $250, $500, $600, you'll get all the money coming to you. So I don't know how these people get away with this kind of stuff and have been doing it literally for years. Now, they still would be having lots of customers if eBay didn't shut them down. Of course, it's sneaking back onto eBay, and a lot of these type of products can be found, but eBay closed them down because they make horrible claims. So the whole idea is that there's a huge amount of people apparently. And when you looked at these eBay stores, they didn't have a single actual negative comment there. So it was very, very strange that they wouldn't have. Of course, people were leaving comments saying, yeah, I got it, waiting for it to work. Well, that's not really reviewing the product. But these people work together in their criminal cabals. They have people that leave comments. They fakely buy stuff so they have a very positive looking reality there, and etc. that goes with it. But it just amazes me that people think they can actually get a ring to make them rich or to control anything. So you have to understand how this energy works, and we empower people in these areas, and it works pretty well for everybody to a degree. But the problem is people want genie lamp realities that don't work, and apparently people will pay for that. You can't rub a lamp and have something pop up in front of you. You draw energies to you that work in a common understanding as a magnetic energy force. So when you want more money, well, you get opportunities. Money comes to you because you have that. And this is how rich people or successful people, it works in their life. And they have this naturally to a degree. They get all the breaks. And if you get enough breaks, well, it's probably going to make you rich. And when you're rich, all the people are going to come to you that want to make you more money. So this is how things work. It doesn't pop up in front of you. The whole Aladdin's lamp isn't even based in Arabic mythology. That was created by the French when they were publishing books on Arab mythology and ran out of stories, so they made up their own. So it's a totally, completely contrived reality there. So you got to understand how these things work. These are fantastic assists to your life. When you get the right tools, they give you that fantastic edge, which is generally the difference between success and failure. But things don't just take you from nothing to everything. There's a whole reality to manifesting that you should understand. Similar to the book, What Can I Manifest? This tells you how it works, and you need channels for stuff to come to you. Things are not going to fall from the sky. A bucket of money is not going to be in front of your front door in the morning because you do some sort of ritual, use some tool, etc. You now have, if you're doing money rituals, you now have money energy around you. So it could be anything from, gee, I got a fantastic discount and saved $500. Well, isn't that like making $500? If you save $500 in something you were going to buy? Well, it sure is. If you get an opportunity, you hear about something that could make you money or save you money or whatever. Maybe somebody gives you something. It could be anything out there, and you've got to look at the bigger picture that people don't understand. But let's get back to this negativity. But this is all out there and being sold all over the place, and they're still selling it. And people are still getting by on eBay and other places, particularly some sort of Australian group that claims to do all that. So all of these things we have to be very careful of. Are their intentions good? Are these people who are really trying to help you? And there are some people like that, and they have practiced certain arts and have machines, and they think they are empowering things to that level. And there may be a small percentage of these that actually are doing some decent work. But you have to understand that all this stuff is very, very questionable, and at the very least, people tend to be very delusional. And in the 50 years, pretty much 53 years now that I've been doing everything in terms of researching from childhood, I have found virtually nothing out there that works well. There's some okay stuff. It's interesting, but ultimately I don't see it doing much of anything. I haven't seen it help in terms of buying other people's products. Now, using machines, using empowerment courses, basic occultism, all of this works, and I've done it for 50 years, and it works pretty well. You do consistent rituals using candle magic with the proper alchemical oils on it, and these things work, and they work amazingly well. But these are not charged items that you're buying per se. You have to get the proper oils, etc., know the things, but you're doing it. Radionics does work if you have basic machines and amplify them properly. Now, we just don't know because everything is so individualistic of what these things work basically. Being a bioentity and having multiple different situations, you have a different perception than someone else, a different understanding, you come from a different social background. So what are you going to do? And is in terms of what can you manifest is going to be very bio-dependent on you. What are your possibilities? So you basically enhance what you already have instead of creating something out of nothing. Now, as you create more and more, you build yourself up to a higher and higher level. So everybody has to understand that that's how these things work, and getting caught up in very high claims that people make because you're excited, because really you're getting something for nothing. Well, I get this product and I don't have to do any work basically, and this is going to happen. Now, a lot of these things, as I said, can be very helpful. If you don't have outside energies such as energy cells, etc., to connect you to these energies, it's very difficult for you to do it yourself. That's why you have to use certain tools. But you have to be careful where these tools come from. So let's get back into the actual understanding of the new product that I've come out with here, which is one of the greatest things that everybody needs. And of course, first, of course, is uncrossing, and I'm working on producing and uncrossing products so people can stop the negativity around them. But one of the things you need to do is protect yourself. And no matter what you have, you need to make sure that there isn't negative energies accumulating in them. Now, just going around regular society and your day-to-day things with your watch, your rings, and everything else in it, I guess we could say your phones today, is a real problem, because I've never tested any of these products that weren't filled with negative energies. Now, I'm not talking about demonic cursing or satanic energies. What I'm talking about is just negative energies. Negative energies that are plain and simple accumulate, and this accumulation eventually causes a cross condition, and cross conditions can turn into curses, where it starts to replicate itself and toxify your body. And by doing this, your bioenergy field, it toxifies, and then your life starts to get bad. Your health gets bad, you're fine, because you're constantly generating not positive energy, but negative energy, because you've created this bubble of negative energy, otherwise known as a crossed condition. So, curses is when someone directly put something in your energetic energy field, which is you could call energetic cancer, and it grows and grows to affect you in all of your life. And this is common as well. A lot of people are under attack and having all sorts of different problems happening to them because of the fact that they are not uncrossing themselves properly. Or at all, for that matter. So this is something we all have to look at and make sure that we handle these things properly in our lives. So uncrossing is critical. We do have energy cells to work on that, and it's a lifetime tool, and it's also a lifetime pursuit. Just as you have to eat right, exercise, bathe, do all the things you have to do normally in life, well, you have to uncross yourself all the time. It's not necessarily difficult, and having an energy cell to do that makes the process very simple. But everybody needs to take care of these physical items in their life. And again, these aren't just the potential dangers out there by these pseudo, because they're not really orgone machines. They're pseudo orgone invented, which has nothing to do with Wilhelm Reich and what he actually invented, not invented, actually discovered and learned how to accumulate, which is not what these people put together. They're putting together a very bad energy that they decided is just basically a sales catch, that you're creating these energies there that you accumulate because there's something really special about orgone accumulation. Well, there really isn't anyway. Even if you accumulated pure orgone, it doesn't necessarily do anything in your life, period. Now, in very potent aspects, Wilhelm Reich claimed that he was able to do so many things, and it certainly is fascinating to do that. But to think that he never used it to, quote, manifest in a radionic type reality, which was still pretty popular in his age. To a certain extent, it was very popular then because people were still doing it all over the world in the 50s. So the whole idea is that orgone in itself, which may be a nourishing energy, is not necessarily a manifesting energy. He used it for all sorts of interesting and fascinating things. But the way it was then invented and contrived and hoisted upon the public as a fraud by Karl Hans Welz is nothing to do with orgone or anything else. So it has to do with his sick look at the world. And the bottom line is you're accumulating, which is what orgone accumulators are, toxic energies from a very, very polluted environment. I mean, there's so much radiation in our environment and everything else. And if you use these kind of tools, you're dragging in this stuff. And users of these orgone type machines, I have been tracking for over 20 years. And there's an awful lot of very sick people and a lot of losers, including the inventor who died relatively young and his wife even younger. Where's all the great healing? If you look at the last picture published of Welz, he's a fat little nerd. Got a big giant belly and everything else. For a person who was pretty thin most of his life, as he got older, he got sicker and sicker from using orgone and turned into the typical fat person that people become in this day and age as well. So this is a fraud perpetrated on you. And how many others are there out there? I also discovered from China, after being notified by one of my customers, that there are problems there with certain Chinese products, particularly these products that are nano pens and these nano, I don't know if they're nanos, but they're discs that are supposed to put out all these great ions. They're black discs. They come from volcanic stuff, etc., supposedly from Japan and other places. And, of course, the Chinese are doing this. But the problem is that with the nature of China, you're getting super toxicity out there. They were radioactive and pretty high of radioactive, particularly the nano pens that you're supposed to stir liquids with. And they're supposed to have quartz crystals in them. Well, those quartz crystals may have been in there in terms of ground up powder, remnants of wells, and these things had high radiation. You have to be very careful, and if you're going to get products from China, as I now have as well, and we avoid that when we can in terms of something that could be radioactive, we have a meter to tell us if these things are. And believe me, the rate that we got on the nano pens were actually very high with radiation. This may be a way that they are getting it out of China in a sneaky way, and so are these little ion disc type things. So all of these things are something to be avoided. So, and we don't know. So this is just another area where there are toxicity problems. And I recommend everybody follow the Hazel Parcells cleansing for radiation, which is, I think, something that has been ignored and overlooked. There's two major areas that we really have to get out of our biosystem, and that is parasites, which are pandemic, and radiation, which is being ignored as well. And of course, there's all the heavy metals that go with this. So this is really what's basically making people sicker and sicker in this day and age. So we do have to be very careful with that. So let's get down to the technology. So there's several different things you need protection with. And of course, there's basic outside protection, but there's all these clogged and negative energies in all your devices. And this is something that even radionic machines in general. So be aware of the fact that if you have any radionic machine, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, there are tens of thousands of them that have been sold, and there are many different manufacturers over the years. But when you use radionic machines, you connect it to certain people. If you're using it for subtle energy healing, or in general metaphysically, you're going to pick up negative energies. That's intrinsic within that. Not only that, you're locking that machine with the energy that is in there. So the whole idea is that if you're using a radionic machine for prosperity, and you're using it, that energy is then going to be in there, which means once you use that machine, you're going to have prosperity energy in there. So, well, what's wrong with that? Well, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. But if you're using it for somebody else as well, you're going to be locking prosperity. And if that person is a person who needs help and has negative energy because of their financial situation, that's going to be in your machine as well. Now, even if you have positive financial energy in your machine, do you want to use that same energy to uncross yourself? You want to use that for love drawing? Well, no. So you've caused a conflict within your machine because of the fact that those energies are in there. Now, just turning your dials to zero is not enough to get the energy out of it. Your energy is, these machines are consciousness machines that are vibrating the energy you put into them. So how do you get it out of it? Well, obviously by turning all your dials down to zero, you are stopping the flow to a certain extent, but it's still vibrating all there. You're still connected to that stream of empowerment for a period of time. We're not sure how long it will be connected there, but turning them to zero is not enough. The energy is still there, and it doesn't necessarily have to be bad energy. It can be good energy, but conflicting for another purpose. So what you want to do is always clean your machines out. I don't think people do this. There's a few ways of doing it, but I've designed this so everybody can do it very easy and keep their machine at the highest possible level of functioning. And there's three ways that this new tool works. Well, number one, we have our very advanced sigil designs. Now, a sigil is a combination of geometric, holy shapes, mystical shapes, but generally they're shapes, they're images. Now, we have researched this, and a lot of people may not understand that images carry a lot of power. So you can draw something on something to transmute the energy of it entirely. And I've researched this for many years. What I did was I got some actual Egyptian artifacts that were put in frames about 30 years ago. These were taken from actual tombs and other things. So what I did is I said, well, let's check these things to see if there's any negativity in them. And there was negativity in them. When I used my pendulum on them, they actually were giving off negative energy. Now, I don't think anybody actually does this. So, and they tend not to check to see what energy are coming off. You just get something like that, you bought it with the greatest intentions. I'm not sure that taking the artifacts, unless you're robbing tombs, is anything wrong with that. There are millions of these things, and it helps the population there. Why not have a small little ancient artifact that you put in your, which is a real one? They have millions of these. There's hundreds of thousands of little cat mummies and everything else. I don't know if I'd have one of those, but this was a little item from that were used in barrels, and there must, as I said, there must be millions. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're buying them on the open market. I don't recommend people going and chiseling off a bit of the pyramid. So this is all the kind of stuff that we don't want to do and has negative energetic complications to it. But I checked this and I found out that both of them that I bought had negative energy. They were spinning counterclockwise and at a fairly rapid pace. So what I did is put some sacred symbols of protection and clearing, just a couple on a little sticker, and put it behind these, which are mounted in picture frames. And guess what? The energy changed completely. Whoa. Now that's pretty amazing. You think about it. Now, you haven't done anything. You haven't done any rituals. You haven't done any calling of spirits, blessing it. You haven't brought it down to the local priest and him spit on it. The whole idea is that none of this stuff was done. A simple little, actually I even got it down in the future to one little image that created this particular very positive energetic field. And what's interesting is that this little symbol was found in different churches and other places around the world, holy spots, to make sure the energy that was in there was positive. So all that was done was that, and it stayed like that forever. Isn't that interesting? So don't underestimate the sigils, and the creation of energy starts in this kind of fashion, and this draws in the manifesting energies of the universe. The informational energetic fields that create everything start off or can be connected to by just using drawn patterns. So to think that something bigger and more physical, meaning you make a machine or something, works better is kind of a misnomer and kind of a misunderstanding, because you're thinking about regular science that really has achieved nothing. So we do have to understand that. So it's amazing what this does. So I put together a very, there are many symbols we put together, symbols representing energy forms and all positive and protective energies from a whole bunch of areas. And we put this all together to create this special sigil that will clear everything out, including, of course, the door type orgone that is being created now, which is really deadly orgone, door, which people seem to ignore. So all of this is part of the reality that is out there, and you have to understand. We've made this into now a much nicer format. This is now printed on plastic, which is basically in the form of a what appears to be a CD, which actually it is. So it comes in a little CD case, which is a real great way to keep your stuff. It's a great way to use stuff. And these little plastic discs that are very easy to keep, hundreds of. They're marked on the side of them so you know what they are. But it's a great way to store your disc if you're not using it, or even to carry it around with you. You know, I used to know a person who used to carry around, and what they would do is put their cleansing disc under plates when they went to restaurants. They would clear out other things. They would place it in their car. I mean, you can use these discs anywhere. And of course, they're good for clearing out, and by clearing out, they also have an empowerment aspect to them. So you've got this disc the size of a CD, and it actually does have vibrational energies implanted into it through sound waves, which are the best way to transfer this type of energy. Digital energies are not very well transferred if through this kind of medium, particularly if it's just digital information. But if it's based in sound wave digital files, meaning music, then this has a great empowerment, not only when you actually play it, but this music energy, just by being implanted in it, amplifies the sigil that's there by huge amounts. And this is the major changes from our past one. Our past one, we made a quick one up in an emergency, which was a laminated sheet with a bunch of some physical items on it and sacred geometry. And this worked pretty good, but this is 100% better than the old one, because of the fact it has this very unique digital sound in it, and this is one of the key to using digitalization at a higher level. is that you have to mix it in with sound bass. But in general, digital still is not the way to go. You need to have not something that has been broken down, cut up, and redone to make it clearer in its own little way, but you need to have the whole symbol there to do that. And of course, that's what you get printed on the front of the disc, or well, you could call it the CDs that you've got, which is extremely high quality and done well by this manufacturer. You've got the original energy right there. It is not digital in nature. It is printed out. The colors, the intentions of it, everything are carried that way, which is very important, and it hasn't been messed with in terms of breaking it down as digitalization tends to do. So high quality, dense printing gives you a great energetic push and works really well. The case itself has symbols on it as well, and you could use those as well. You keep the disc stored in there to make sure that it is at the highest possible of energetic levels, but you don't even have to take it out of the actual case. You could use the whole case together and place things on top of that. I do this with drinks, coffee, juice, water, etc. You could place the whole case closed underneath your water bottle. Or if you find that a little bit problematic, and these cases do tend to crack easy, just take the disc out and place it underneath anything. So you've got this CD type disc that you can place under just about everything. Your water jug, you can place your watches on it, your jewelry, your pendants, anything you want to clear on there, your wallet, your car keys. You can place a disc like this in your car to make sure, there's a lot of negative energy in your cars and everything else, and electromagnetic and all sorts of things. And, cars are pretty dangerous. It's nice to have one of these placed in your car somewhere, even if it's just putting it in your glove compartment and leaving it there. So it's one of those things that is one of these amazing tools. But giving you the level of high-level protection, which we all need, is what is so unique about this tool, because sound waves are potent cleansing energies, particularly when a sound wave is empowering a super powerful sigil that's on the top of the CD. So what happens, and we've done this for years with our CD technology, so it works, and we basically have told people, and of course we haven't used music until this. This is our first music one, which we have recently discovered, but our other scalar CDs, as we called them, sound wave products, are empowered by just spinning them. Now, spinning these sigils activates them at a high level. Now, when you spin these, and that kind of shoots it in your environment by spinning it in some sort of player, and then you play the music, well, then you are getting super cleansing energies. There is no, it's unparalleled. So there are particular frequencies in the music that is here that will generate this cleansing protection effect in your environment. So if you're ever under attack, you're having any kind of problems, you pop this into your CD player, your computer, and you can play it as well. I don't know how many people are still having CD players or not. That's the only problem with this kind of technology, but if you're going to use it to the highest level, these are still available out there and inexpensive. We even sell our own type of CD players, which we have further amped up by changing them at their subatomic level, as well as gluing things onto them, tachyons, other energetic things that will make the process even more potent. So all of these are critical. So you can actually get the MP3 file if you want to play this through your digital system if you wish. To get the greatest effect, you need to spin this disc with the sacred symbols and empowerments on it while playing the music, and this will give you the best results. Now, you don't have to do that. The music itself, because there's frequencies built into it of this particular unique type, energize the sigil to a higher level. So this is a great breakthrough, but you don't necessarily have to play it. So it just has to be on there. It's an amplification. You could say this is the amplifier for that image. Now, we use amplifiers, which are tube amplifiers, because of the resonance of them, with our radionic machines. But the actual musical scales that are going to work in a very similar fashion to give you resonance just by the fact that it is printed on the CD disc on the other side. So it amplifies just by doing that process, which is very powerful. You want the ultimate, having problems, play this and play the music as well. Get yourself a little CD player. You don't have to buy a big system. They are out there everywhere, or buy one from Radionic Tech that is greater in power. Now, you don't have to do that, as I've mentioned. That's what you do occasionally for problems. Good way to clean out a place, rooms, etc. You can get a portable little CD player, and you can go from room to room and play it that way as well. So you will get benefits. But it's the disc itself, as I've mentioned, powered by this resonance that is just imprinted into it at a vibrational level that works so well. So you place these under everything, as I've mentioned. Depending on how crazy you want to get, you can place these in your food on it, in your refrigerator. I have a little stove, a hot air stove, but there's a actual space at the bottom, and I have a disc underneath there. You got to be careful it doesn't get too hot. These are plastic. They can melt, so you have to check that. So you put your drinks on it. You can use these as coasters if you want to for anything. Put bottles on it, etc. I mean, the uses are unlimited. I mentioned your car, any dangerous practice you do. Are you crazy? Do you ski? Well, I put it in my ski bag. Probably fill my pockets with it as well, but that's another thing. And of course, so anything you want to clear out or protect, you want to do this, and you can just place them in your environment. Again, you can just prop up the case, take it out of the case, put them around your room, etc. They are very attractive. They look cool, and certainly are a decorative item to anybody. Would find these interesting, I would think. Now, there's one other aspect that we have added to these to give it the ultimate oomph. And the ultimate oomph is the fact that we include 6 tachyons. Now, tachyons are expensive in general, so this is a great deal you're getting. So you get all these tachyons, you get the disc and everything else together, so it is quite a bargain on top of it. Now, the tachyons can be used to empower anything. You know, you should drop I don't know. It depends what tachyons you get, because you need the clear tachyons to put them in water. But if you don't have those, you should order the clear tachyons. These actually have images on them, which makes them unfit to drop in water because they're printed on one side and there's plastic printing on it. So it's just best not. But you should get the ones to drop in water. But what you generally want to do when you're clearing out, particularly an orgone-based machine, is you slip the disc, you take it out of the case, put it underneath the machine. And this can be a regular machine. It doesn't necessarily have to be orgone. It can be any radionic machine, which just tends to accumulate negativity. So you slip it under the machine. You then take the tachyon cells, and you get 6 of them. You put 3 on your in plate or witness plate, and you put 3 on your out plate or rubbing plate. Some people call that trend. Don't quite understand that, but more stupid terms. But the whole idea is that that's what you do. And now you leave it on there. If it's your machine and it's not orgone based, you can leave it there for a couple of hours, an hour to an hour, and that will clear everything out of it perfectly. Your dials should all be closed on 0. Sometimes it's a good idea, depending on what you've worked on, sometimes it's a good idea to turn all your dials to 10, because that means the energy is flowing through them. And that, as such, will clear out whatever is in there. So turning them up to 10 is something you should do as well. So you should alternate, keep it one time you do it on 0, the other time you do it on 10, or thinking about it as maybe it's best just to do the 10 all the time so the energy flows through it. So you leave it there for approximately, depending on what you're doing, about an hour. If you have an orgone machine, you want to leave the plate underneath it all the time. This will stop toxic orgone from accumulating. It may actually help the orgone to basically be positive. You may actually get good draw of some of that because it will cleanse out some of that toxic orgone that is accumulating in there. And it may turn it to be, it will neutralize the bad energies. It actually may turn it to a little bit good, so you may be able to do that. That has to, we have to see that with further testing. And since I don't use orgone machines, it's difficult, even though I do have them. But so that's how you do it. So you want to leave that under the machines. Now, when you're generally doing work with a non-orgone machine, do not leave the plate under there. This generally will weaken some of the broadcasting energy because it will be constantly filtering the energy in there and taking out any kind of negativity. And you say, well, I'm not doing negative, but it could help, it could hurt the actual transmitter. So you don't leave it under there. These are for clearing purposes only. After you've finished your radionic rituals and you're no longer projecting to that person, place, or thing, then you put the plate under there, use the tachyons, and cleanse them to cleanse the machine out. And this is very, very important. As I said, you don't have to have an orgone machine. You don't have to be a negative person. It's just that you want to cleanse the energies out of there, period. And this is something that is a problem. Anytime that you use any crystals, and a lot of people use crystals, a lot of people put crystals in radionic machines. This is a problem because it's picking up the energy. The crystals are kind of like little programs. And when you program them, it's in there. So, and again, do you want conflicting energies, even if they're not negative in there? No, clear them out. If you have stones in general, put them on the plate to clear them out. So I put a lot of different stones and other things to power my water, and I have a generally under there. So this is something that you definitely want to do to clean your machine out. And tachyons are very powerful tools the way that we make them and upgraded them dramatically over the others you will find out there, which just aren't very potent materials at all. We found them to be pretty disappointing for what they are. But tachyons we've used for many, many years and certainly are something that is a clean energy. You got to remember, tachyons are extremely fast energetic particles. If they are particles, probably not, but they're basically energetic waves. And because they're so fast, they're not picking up the lower toxic realms of energy like orgone does. So orgone picks up earth-based energies, which is condensing them. Now, these are all bad. So it's just a very bad way of doing things to accumulate energy in general. And there's been lots of tests on this, even before all this contrived nonsense that was produced by Satanists. People had, Hieronymus used to have cosmic pipes. Now, cosmic pipes were basic types of orgone machines. Basically, they were sucking in cosmic energies, and they were stuck in the ground. Now, the problem is cosmic is an interesting term if you are filtering energies to get the cosmic energies. What you're really doing is drawing in Earth atmosphere energies. And I'm afraid the Earth is just, this planet has had it on any level. It's just a matter of how quick it goes down, unfortunately. So it is a serious problem. And the serious problem of trying to accumulate energies from a very toxic environment is kind of silly. And ultimately very dangerous. So this was done already by Hieronymus, and all these cosmic pipes generally were stopped to have been used because of it. Now, I've been working on cosmic pipes that can filter some of this, and we'll see how that goes in the future, which is interesting. But they found out that all this stuff was a big problem. So you have to be very, very careful. And then, of course, after that was discarded, the fake orgone stuff came out, where people are making the biggest toxic pieces of garbage there is, using horrible resins that are basically could kill you if you breathe them in, and most likely if you ate it, it would kill you as well. This is pretty bad stuff, people, so we have to be very, very careful that all of this is understood. But there's lots of different toxicities, as I've mentioned, and there is psychic attack, curses, other things. Now, as I said, you play this particular CD, just spin it to give it the extra punch, connect it to a speaker, and this will clear out your entire house. And you can do this endlessly. Some people are under great attack, play these CDs 24/7. And again, you can turn down the volume. The spinning of the disc is important, and even if the volume's up a teeny bit where you can't hear it and it goes out is another. But so you don't have to have the actual music playing. The sound effects of it in terms of what you hear is not the most crucial part of it. The effects are happening just by playing it. So everybody needs to understand that and keep that going in terms of the bigger process that we all need to fully understand. So keeping this together like that is something that we need to fully understand the aspects of that. And we live in a horribly negative world, a negative environment. There's negative energies, negative people, negative everything. So you have to constantly protect yourself. It's like nutrition and health. You just can't eat good. If you're not taking all sorts of supplements to cleanse your livers and kidneys and other things out, well, you're just not getting the effects you need. And people who go on pure diets tend to release a lot of toxins in their systems and get sicker. That's how sad it is. There has been some interesting information saying, people who become vegetarians get rid of all those fats in their body. Well, those fats are storing toxins, and some people get very sick and even get cancer. Kind of frightening that you run into that. There are lots of other things, as I've mentioned. I recommend people getting now into what is not new, but has something that people should probably get back into, and that's doing cleansing baths to get rid of all sorts of radiation. And these are very cheap, which is what I like about them. Baking soda. A cup of baking soda in your bath gets rid of radiation. Apple cider vinegar. Cup of that in there. So this also starts to cleanse out all sorts of toxins and everything else. You got to remember there are physical toxins and there are spiritual toxins, and they tend to be linked. So when you get rid of one, you get rid of some of the others, even though it is highly recommended to get rid of all the spiritual toxins that you use our bath salts, a tablespoon of one of our bath salts, like Fiery Wall of Protection, Uncrossing, in your tub with your other ones as well. Apple cider vinegar, a cup of that. Did I say that? Another great one. Clorox bleach, a cup of that in your bath. And again, this cleanses you. It's an oxygenator. Everybody says it's 100% safe. I've used them for years without a problem. But again, use a tablespoon of Uncrossing bath salts, protection, firewall protection, or maybe you want to use something to draw something to you. Money drawing. And other types of things that you can use there to bring these actual energies in for a full cleansing system. And again, these are very cheap. So you can have baths, which I do like. It doesn't cost you a fortune. The bath salts that we sell, you're using a little bit of it, so they're going to last a long time. I wouldn't say they're cheap, but I wouldn't also say they're expensive. But these pay back hundreds fold. So you can get these types of things poured in your bath, and you're going to cleanse yourself. And you can be taking all the supplements you want, doing all the good things, but if you're not cleansing out the radiation, and also I recommend people work on parasites. This is another thing we're working on, which could be the cause of everything. I mean, we're just filled with parasites, and this can't be good. So we have to get rid of these. They have been linked to every single illness you can think of, can be linked and to parasites. And you can get some primitive parasite, there are herbal parasitical formulas you can take to cleanse you out. Highly recommend these. And of course, a lot of these baths and other things tend to do it. There's a whole system on this, which if you're a Patreon and All Access member person, you'll get the book that we offer on that, and you can follow these simple and potent systems to assist in these areas. And we're getting into parasites in general, informing you on what to do in the future as well. These are insidious, and your body is filled with them, and there's the crude ones. And it's now been estimated by 80% of the population is infected at a high level with parasites. Pretty frightening when we get down to it. Maybe, people do so many things to improve their well-being, and these things are directly connected to medical things like depression. I believe personally, and of course I am not a medical doctor, I'm just a subtle energy physics researcher, I believe that all the mental illnesses, the depressions, are parasitical in nature or viral or both. So it's all these things come down to it. And then we cover up the symptoms by giving a toxic drug to somebody. But, there's never any cures. Well, work on your parasites and you will probably find one. Get this radiation out of your body. We're all radiated toxic. Chernobyl, the Japanese problem, the power plants, which they want to build more now because it's the only technology that the capitalistic system can make money off of and produce huge amounts of radioactive material to toxify the environment more. So we have so much of this, and it's just building every day. And it's something that I have not worked on, but I am working on. I think everybody will get great results from it. I have taken metaphysical baths before, and these metaphysical baths make you feel really good. So because of the fact you have now cleansed your aura with that, you've taken out so much negative spiritual energies that you feel a lot better. When you do these other baths, you'll find out this also gives a huge well-being boost to you. So all of this is so critical in your life, and it's all part of that. So I would recommend that before you actually pour that cup of baking soda, apple cider vinegar, Clorox into your bath, that you place it in a cup on your disc and leave it there for an hour. You're going to get some pretty great results doing this. You're going to take something that is good already and make it fantastic. With that, you can also, in that same jar there, you can put that tablespoon of bath salts that I recommended as well. So these are the things. Take care of yourself now. You may not show any physical results. It's amazing how tough our bodies are to a degree, but everybody is decaying, everybody is sick, everybody has liver and kidney problems. It's pandemic and it's frightening. Don't wait till you get sick. Do it now. And of course, like everything out there in terms of we're talking about the general health issue, I think it's pretty commonly understood now by medical physicians, etc. And like everything, always talk to your doctor. I'm a synergistic person. There are some good things in regular medicine, and they know how your body's working. I have no idea who you are, and I'm not a doctor. I'm just talking about things that I do personally that are helpful. And we're talking about informational energetic fields, what we're putting out here, of assisting people. When we get into the other things, always do that. So consult with a knowledgeable medical professional, whomever that may be, which ain't me. So the whole idea is that take care of yourself now, because trying to get well is difficult, and you're going to have years and years of debilitating problems and getting worse over time as we are doing here. And of course, watch the intake of carbohydrates and try and eliminate them as much as you can. Again, there's a lot of information on YouTube done by medical professionals on this, low-carb diets, getting away from all these carbohydrates, breads, all the stuff that we said was good and that we all love is really bad for you. And everybody's becoming a diabetic, and it's not funny, and sugar is very detrimental to your system. And we're all hooked. We're all hooked on it. We're all love it. We've been conditioned by it. Nice piece of bread with some cheese and this and that. Well, these are all things that all of us tend to love. Pizza is the number one food out there, and it's just a giant piece of bread, and this is really bad for you. So carbohydrates, which shoot up all sorts of things in your body and cause sugar problems, are something to be avoided. So look into that as well, because we're talking about the bigger picture. Life is that. If you want to function high metaphysically, it is linked to your physical body. So if you don't feel good, you won't do anything. So it's just as simple as that. And when you do something, you won't be at an energy level to do it at the best way you should. You won't be able to tune your radionic unit because your head's going to be clouded with toxins and problems, and you're not feeling good. You're not going to be able to do anything else, meditation, centering, all the things that really are part of life that make you a powerful person. Well, if you're not physically well, you probably just won't do it, period. So that's something we all have to take into consideration. So this new 3-in-1 tool, and of course the tachyons that come with it, you can use for other things as well. Whatever you want to put a little energy into, you can certainly do that. If you're doing some basic candle work, well, you can put the tachyons next to or in your lantern, or however you want to do that. Anytime you want a little boost, you can drop these tachyons in a bottle of supplements. So you can use tachyon anytime you want to add a little bit of extra energy to anything. You can use those tachyons. So do keep that in mind. Tachyons can enhance everything because that's what they do. They just bring the energy up. They force out negativity, bring in positive energies. And this is something you should use with everything. You should have tachyons dropped in no matter what it is that you're eating, consuming. I've got a tachyon cell in my coffee container, which I put in glass. Everything I put in glass. Another thing you should be doing, staying away from all plastics. Don't cook in plastic. Don't heat in plastic. And don't store your foods in plastic. And that includes your supplements, which you should take out of the plastic bottles and put in glass bottles. These are all the little things that are easy to do, just as a way of doing things that you just get accustomed to. And everything even tastes better, but, plastic toxicity is a real problem. So you can drop those in. You can drop a tachyon and supplements you take as well. So you can use them in many, many different ways and in many areas. And it's something that you probably should start building a large collection of and putting them everywhere. They do last forever. I wouldn't say they're necessarily cheap, but they're not too expensive. And they, as I said, they do last forever. They don't wear out. So wherever you put them, they're going to stay energized for the rest of your life. So this new 3-in-1, it's available. One thing nice about this particular product as well, because of supply chain problems that we're having recently, these things are made quickly and fast and sent to you. Generally takes about 3 days for the manufacture of them, and then they are sent to you, which then takes the time it gets in the postage to get to you, which is usually another 3 to 4 days. So you generally, once you order something, you can have it, usually to play it safe, 7 to 10 days. And the tachyons are generally sent separately, so those take a similar amounts of time. Those are ready to go. So we pack those up and ship it out to you. So generally, and don't hold me to it, depending on mails, seasons, etc., and even what we're doing, you will be able to get these things within 10 days or 2 weeks to play it safe, 14 days. But generally they go out very quickly, at least from us, and then we're dependent upon other systems and mail, etc. So these are something you don't have to wait weeks for in terms of 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks, as some things can take. These aren't custom made to you, so they just have to be packed up and sent to you. That's part of the process. But this is a fantastic tool. This is really what has been needed by people, and something that everyone should get, and probably several of them. They are lifetime tools. Yet again, you'll use these discs forever. They will last as well. I've never had any problems with these things. They're not going to peel off, have problems. As long as you treat them basically fine, you shouldn't have a problem unless you kind of abuse them. So if you're going to use them for coasters or other things, you have to be a little bit careful of the actual beating up there of water on them that could cause a problem to the image at the top. So that may be something you'd be a little bit careful with. But the whole idea is that most other uses, these will last forever. And of course, the imprints into the actual disc last forever as well. So it creates this energetic field that's there. So you just really can't beat this. It's the 3-in-1 fantastic empowerment from a sacred high level sigil that is something I perfected the art of. And there are all sorts of secret technologies built into that, to the actual using of actual fields that are sound based, which creates a high level of digital energy fields in that. So anything that is done in these kind of things put into a disc is unique. The other thing is, of course, the good old special Tachyon-Neutrino graviton cells that, again, I have figured out how to create, that draw in not only tachyons, but they draw in neutrinos and others. These are all very fascinating energies that the universe is filled with, and when channeled in properly, and of course, we're only picking up a minute amount of these. They're very hard energies to grab, but they do work to bring high energy and cleansing energies to everything. So this 3-in-1 tool is another major breakthrough that I encourage everyone to look into. As usual, if you have any actual questions or comments, I am available by email. You can, there should be a link below this of the page to go to order these. Finding my website is always at the top right, which is also where you find Patreon, and can support us there as well and get information that is only available for that, as well as going to our website and joining with All Access, which has 3 different schools, 3 different libraries, has a lot of unique and additional training information. All of that is part of this particular process so that you can keep everything at the highest possible level. And as I said, if you have any questions, I'm always available and enjoy communicating with people to make sure they're using everything right and getting the life-changing results that we all need. Until next time.